Welcome back to the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. Once again, this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Galactic Comics and Collectibles at galacticcomicsandcollectibles.com. Now at 499 Main Street, Hammond Street in Bangor, Maine, if you're in the area. But this episode, we welcome back to the podcast Tate Brombal, and welcome for the first time to the podcast, we got Jacob Phillips here. And Brombal is known for his work on writing House of Slaughter, Behold, Behemoth, The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, Batgirl, and New Titans over at DC. Phillips is the artist behind That Texas Blood, New Burn, The Peril of Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery over at DC Vertigo. And together they created the book Everything Dead and Dying over at Image Comics, which is what they're here to chat about today. So before you listen, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, all those places. You can rate, review, subscribe over on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. The video portion of this podcast is also available over on youtube.com. And as always, you can check out capesandtights.com for so much more, including our review of Everything Dead and Dying over at Image Comics. This is Tate Brombal, writer, and artist Jacob Phillips chatting Everything Dead and Dying. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. Happy to be back. Thanks for having us, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. And welcome, Jacob. This is your first time, but Tate's a veteran of the podcast here at Capes and Tights. But no, it's great. It's funny, too, because I've had people on before who've been multiple time guests, but like a lot of times it's like them by themselves and then them with their like illustrator or their writer or whatever. Tate's, you've always been on with someone else. It's like we got to have a team here. We got to have everybody who's involved in the comic book, not everybody, but multiple people involved in the comic book to join the podcast. But yeah,
it's not worth having on by himself.
Yes,
No, it's really not.
He can't carry it all by himself. But yeah, I mean, I guess one of the questions I actually had to start off with, just with both you being on here, how you two got together to create a comic book together. Is there a long, fun story, or does it just happen to be you guys want to work together?
For me, it was we met in. I went to TCAF in Toronto. Has it 2022?
Maybe, yeah, 3 years ago now.
Yeah, 22, 23, something like that. And Tate basically looked after us for the weekend and took us to all the seediest of places. So we met then for the first time. Like, we knew each other like online, but met in person for the first time. And hung out for the weekend and became friends. And then Tate sort of got in touch like maybe like a year after that, maybe, or something like that, and was like, do you want to do something together? And sort of had this idea fully formed already, and was been thinking about it for a long time. And for me, I feel like it was like everyone else has had it, getting to read it. It's the same sort of thing for me, where I was like, this sounds so cool. Like, it's such a good idea. I was thrilled to be asked. So yeah, for me, that obviously we've been working on it since then. But I think, for Tate, it goes a bit further back than that.
Yeah, I've had the idea, I guess, like, it spun out of the COVID quarantine times, which I think is very real and felt like within the book itself. And the idea came to me, I don't know why. I never thought I'd write a zombie book. I loved the zombie subgenre for forever. I grew up reading like Walking Dead, watching the show. I remember reading World War Z and just being like, my mind being blown of what a zombie book could be and how real it could feel. But I never thought, this happens a lot, I never thought I would have a zombie story to tell. Like, I was like, I love enjoying this fiction, but I don't know what I could bring to the subgenre. And I basically had this vision of a man kind of sitting on his bed in like a very dark room, and I could tell it was the end of the world, and he was grieving, and he just was like so heavy with like the weight of whatever this life was, and all around him were his dead family members and his dead loved ones who I knew they were dead, but I could tell that they were still living like amongst him, and the weight of that responsibility of taking care of them and not being able to let go of them, I could just sense it. So it kind of all came from that vision. And I think the title even came with it. I was like, what is this? Who is this man's story? And it all spun out of there, basically delving into who this man was, why he would continue to live alongside his dead, and how that could function as a story and what it could say about the world today. And so I had that idea. I kicked it around for years, but I knew I needed somebody I could trust. So when I reached out to that person, they said no. So then I had to reach out to Jake. So then I knew it needed the right artist who could sell it. And I had been friends with Jake. We knew each other online. I'm good friends with Chris Condon. And I always just assumed Chris had Jake locked up in some basement. So the idea of working with Jake was always like, of course I would want to. But for some reason, I didn't connect him to this project until another friend of mine was like, Jacob Phillips would be the perfect artist for the story. And I was like, what? And as soon as she said that, I was like, you're right. So I reached out to Jake. He was immediately on board for some reason, which I'm very thankful for. And he drew a really cool like promo piece for like a pitch. And I started bringing it to publishers. So that's kind of like where it all came from.
Did you feel, Tate, at all, like I know zombies are not as a subject, the subgenre is used quite often. Like, did you feel any apprehension at the beginning to be like, okay, but I need to make it my own. I need to make it different than everybody else's so that stands out. But also, is it a water you kind of like tiptoed into when you started writing it? Because obviously it took you a couple years to get it like going. But like, I just feel like if it was me, I'd have this like, oh, what do I have to contribute? Not saying you don't, but I'm just saying I would have that apprehensions. Did you have those apprehensions?
Yeah, no, that was totally my mentality of like, I don't want to do this unless I have something to contribute or something new to say or worth saying with this subgenre. And with zombies specifically, I mean, the publishers that I think I brought it to 3 or 4 publishers, and each one rejected it for different reasons, but kind of similar. Some of them were straight up like, we have The Walking Dead, so like, why tell more zombie stories? So I was like, great, thanks. And then others were just like, yeah, zombies have been done before. We're sticking away from zombies and vampires and that fantastical stuff. Meanwhile, like a year later, everyone wanted more fantasy and more vampires and monster books. So it's just like, no one really knows what they want until they're like given great stories and they're like, we want more of this. So like, luckily, I just was like, this is a story that means a lot to me and I want to tell. And I think it is a zombie story I've never seen before. So I knew it was one that I wanted to exist, even if the market wasn't going to be in my favor. I was like, obviously I want to sell this comic as many copies as we can. But I also just trusted that if we tell a good story, people will show up. And luckily, like, we got it at Image with Tiny Onion, in partnership with Tiny Onion. And we just trusted that the book would do well. And then zombie stories started kind of coming back into the cultural zeitgeist around the same time. So it worked out. And I'm just glad we kind of held on to it and got it made with Image, where we could control it and sell it how we wanted to sell it.
It is. I mean, zombie, like I mentioned, the zombie stories are out there and so on. But like, I felt like the biggest thing I saw about this book was the fact that it's like so zoomed in. That I feel like a lot of other, I mean, one of the best zombie stories of all time, The Night of the Living Dead, is like zoomed in on that farmhouse. And like, that's where you see, they're not really, the town's nearby, but it's not really worried about what's going on elsewhere. It's like they're focused a lot in what's going on right there in this house. Walking Dead's great. I love Walking Dead. I've one of my favorite comic books I've read. But like, they still deal with like a larger picture of things. Like, this is like a slice of life death in this one small area, and that's what grabbed me the most, that it was like so personable in that sense, that there wasn't really worrisome about what's going on. Never really worried about what's going on outside of his house. He was just like, I'm taking care of my house, in the not living, it's in my house, and that's the way it is. I don't care what's happening in New York or wherever else is going on, like, or how it started or how it's gonna turn out or whatever. It was like, I'm worried about right now and take care of the people I want. And again, there's a redemption part of this story too, seeking redemption and so on. But yeah, that's what it got to me. And then also there's a, if you accept, people could continue caring about comparing zombie stories always to The Walking Dead now because of the success of the comic, the success of the show. You read a zombie comic book, people are going to compare it to that nowadays. But the artwork, Jacob, like that also set it so far apart from what else I've seen on zombie stories right now. Was there an approach to making this stand out as its own thing, or did you just take your what you have for skills and just say, hey, I'm going to put it down on paper and hope people like it?
Well, just to go back a little bit to what you said then about about it being so sort of zoomed in on one particular thing, and I think like since we finished the story and the final issue came out, and we've had a lot of people sort of saying like, oh, we want more of this, like what, and it's like if we were to carry on, it loses that entirely, and it becomes The Walking Dead or something else. And I think that's what makes it so special is that it's just like it's a self-contained thing. What happens afterwards is up to you, if he makes it to where he's going or not. And I think it would just to continue would dilute what we've already done, and turn it into something which is much more sort of common now since The Walking Dead. But yes, the actual question. Well, again, with my approach to it, it all came from that. So like the stuff that I like drawing is the sort of emotional, character-driven acting side of things. The fact that the zombies there is kind of irrelevant to me. Obviously I want to try and capture the sort of degrading house surrounding, like everything's sort of decomposing, everything's gritty, everything's like falling apart. So I want to capture that in sort of the way that I make the marks and like stuff like that. And I think I put a lot more black on the pages than I have in previous stuff. But I've also been doing that in Parallel of the Brutal Dark, which is going out now, and I was working on them both at the same time. And that was just a thing that I wanted to do in general is, I think I need more black on my pages to make a sort of more balanced looking page. It just so happens that this story really lends itself to that approach as well. So I wasn't really conscious of trying to make a distinctive looking thing. It was just sort of like, how can I draw this? And also, this is the first time I think that I've gone into a project with a bit of time beforehand to actually build a world out a little bit. So like, Tate had sort of described the farm and the town and the house and some of the characters in a sort of document, and I got to take that and actually plan out. I made like a little map of the town. I made I made a floor plan of the house, and I gave that to a guy who builds like 3D digital models. So he made like SketchUp models of each of the rooms. Some of them we never see. Like I've spent all this money on getting this thing made, and we never go in the bathroom, but I've got a bathroom, and like the little sort of sunroom thing on the edge that they go through. I think in like maybe the second issue or something, they go through it to go outside. Although I think it's right at the end. Sorry, maybe like the 5th or 4th issue. They go through it, but you don't actually see any of it there. But for me, it helped to have this all built, and it felt like a real place. And because so much of the time I end up like just sort of making it up on the fly, and it's not the best version of it because of that. Now I'm working on more Texas Blood at the moment, and so much I've got like a little bit more time, but I've also got like I can look back and think, oh, okay, this didn't work. Like, I don't like that I've done this. Like, why did I not design this house at the start? Why am I doing it now? So I'm going back and like completely changing like Joe Bob's house. No one will probably care, hopefully. And they do it in like sitcoms and stuff all the time. Like they'll change like season to season. But it would have been really nice if I'd done that at the start. So this time I actually did do that at the start. The map that I made of the town I didn't stick to it religiously. You can't always do that. You have to sort of, whatever the story calls for, it has to be sort of molded towards that. But yeah, it meant that I actually had time to think about it beforehand and actually sit in the world a little bit. I'm hoping it's a more believable world because of that, not just sort of what is around me, especially because I live in the UK. So, and everything that I've drawn has either been, this is sort of, rural Canada, and not like Texas, or it's New York or whatever. Nothing looks like how it looks here. So I'm just sort of like making it up and hoping, and then I go to these places and I'm like, why did I not think of that? But hopefully no one really cares. I think you get a little bit of leeway. But yeah, so it was nice to actually like build a proper world, and hopefully, the visuals that are on the page sort of reflect that a little bit.
I'm glad you said that, Jake, because there's I remember talking in the past to Adam Caesar and David Stoll when they did Dead Mall over at Dark Horse, and David Stoll did that. He went through and like designed the mall floor plans so that when they wrote the story or drew it, they knew where they were going, especially how there was like escalators that led to random places and like things like that. So you needed to make sure he reset himself. But then because of that, I believe Scotty Young and Jorge Corona hired David to do the house for the Me You Love in the Dark. To do the same thing for that same reason, because you're like going from room to room. They wanted to make sure that they could look down at a floor plan and be like, okay, I know what room we're going into at this point. And that's just really cool to hear that, because I love that like forethought. And again, like you mentioned, you don't always have the time for that either, though. Like sometimes you just got to get these things going.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to Michael Lark, and he was talking about, because he used it for Gotham Central. He built the the whatever you call it, or where they are. I don't know what you call that. So he had a guy build that. So I emailed him and said, "Who did you use?" And he just gave me the email address of his guy. And I think Duncan Fagredo used him as well, and something else. So yeah, this guy's getting loads of work on building stuff that are in probably like so many comics, and like so many people will be doing that kind of thing. I know some people do build that stuff themselves, and I've started doing it a bit more with sort of more basic stuff. Like I've built Joe Bob's living room in this new Art Protects His Blood, but it's never as convincing or as like. I think the issue as well is like a lot of the time you don't know what other people have in their house. I can draw my house, but it's like I've got 100 times more books than the average person would have, or like I've got like there's a fucking Iron Giant toy there.
I mean, that might be in my house, so you're right.
Most people don't have that stuff, so it's like, how do you fill other people's stuff, and like think about like what are they into, and like what do they have, and it's a whole level of sort of world building that I'm not very good at, so I'm trying to get better at it. So having someone else fill it is also really helpful, because it takes you away. It's like detaches me from it a little bit, and it's not just me; it's someone else as well. So yeah, it's interesting to work that way, and yeah, I'm hoping to bring that into other things that I do now, and that's what I try and do with everything. Is like, what did I like on that book? Okay, what can I bring forward to this one, and what can I leave behind? And it's like, if it's like with Everything Dead and Dying, I drew it like massive, like twice the size that I normally would, which I think meant that I could get a lot more sort of detail, and I think the inks were a bit sort of not slicker, but a bit more precise than I would normally do. But then when it's coming out, I'm thinking, some of these line weights are a bit thin, and I'm losing a bit of the sort of I don't know, like the sort of chunkier lines. So now I've gone small again, and I'm trying to focus on that, but also try and bring in some of the things that I learned from that, like the more black stuff and some of the texture stuff and that kind of thing. So it's like trying to bring things forward and hopefully improve each time.
it's a beautiful book, and that's one of the things that drew me into it again is the covers in the stylistics of the title, as well as the title itself. Tate, like I think there's something we look back towards, something stealing the children, for an example. It's like one of those things that like, even if the comic wasn't good, I feel like people would still buy it because of the title. Do you know what I mean? Like we're all happy that the comic is good. We're all like loving that. But the idea that the title draws you into it, and there's some like if I was ever to create a comic book on my own, I'm always like I just focus so much on the title because I just want that awesome title that people are like, I gotta buy that. It's I was just mentioning to my LCS owner about the Florida hippopotamus cocaine massacre by Fred Kennedy. I was like, that alone just makes you go, well, we gotta buy that comic. We gotta figure out what the hell's going in that. But everything Dead and Dying is kind of similar to that in the sense that like I said, you saw the cover. Obviously, both you have names of on comics that are pretty popular. People like so the title of and the creators helped bring that book in. But I mean, Tate, did you expect it to be? I mean, this first comic book, I think #1 was selling for $20-30 on eBay now. Like, did you expect that when you first released this comic?
Not at all. Mainly because the market it's rebounding now a bit. Comic shops I'm like happy to see have had like a much better year. But when we started working on this, it was like we were at a low point in like a pretty low point in the industry. So going into like a new #1 for a mini series was like daunting because a lot of just the benchmark of what you could sell at a #1 had fallen quite a lot, even for like well-established creators. We're just like, we're hoping to sell this much, and it was like, and thinking back to like 2021 when like #1s the numbers were so high, things were selling like bananas. So it was we went in with low expectations. We were just focused on making the best book possible. Like you said, like we knew we had like a good title. We had the covers are gorgeous. Like you see that cover one, which was based on our original promo image, which was just this idea. I was like, he's a farmer. We need to get it across that he's like still kind of working the land, even though it's dead and dying. So I was like, let's have an image of like this human farmer milking an undead cow. Cause I'm like, that's just like, I knew if we nailed that, like that's just like an iconic image like I'd never seen before. So yeah, and like the title, like having a good title is huge because it's your first hook, it's your first pitch to like the buyer. If they have nothing else and they just have a title, it's like it needs to do so much of the work and grab the person. So we knew we had things in our favor. We had in terms of that, and we just were so passionate about the story and cared a lot about it, and we put so much of ourselves into it and so much work. And working with Tiny Onion was huge because they know what they're doing. James Tynion and his team know how to make good comics and sell good comics and get comic shops excited about their comics. So that was huge for us as well. And again, just happy it was at Image where we could. It was my first book at Image, which was I'm so excited it was this one, and just having everything more on our terms. We didn't really have to sacrifice anything in terms of getting this book out to market. So it was, we knew it was daunting, and then to see it received so well was like just amazing. It like blew away all our expectations. So we're really happy.
It was funny. I was chatting with my local comic book shop, Galactic Comics in Bangor, Maine. They were mentioning how they used to just be like automatic when Image Comics would put a book out. It would be an automatic. Like, oh, Image, they just, cover A and just like select it all and order it and be cool. And then it was a little while there was like I don't know if I want to take a risk on this, depending on what it was. It really was like a choice on that side. But then when he saw the title again and then saw the creators behind it, he's like, I'm going to be able to move this. And he bought a couple copies. He's a small store. He actually just doubled in size, but he was an 800 square foot store. And so it was very small. So he has like select number of customers and so on and so forth. And he sold out of one and then got issue 2 in, and people were like, oh my gosh, what's this? And they were all like, wait a second, can I get issue 1? And they were like, oh man, it's that expensive for issue 1. I don't know. And so that was the fun thing. But I also thought about this cover. You mentioned the cover and the farmer milking the undead cow. I laughed because I was like, I feel like if you remove the title on it, like the design of the logo on it, and just had it as a painting on the wall and just like put it in your bathroom, whether or not it would take people like a few minutes of being like, wait a second, what is this painting? Because it's just so beautiful, but
that's
also
what we wanted.
creepy.
For each cover, we like wanted that beautiful like landscape, like, and then also just in this beautiful nostalgic like Norman Rockwell kind of aesthetic that's just like beautiful at first, and then there's something a little off that's like, wait, this is because we wanted it to capture like this man is continuing to live his life like it's the way it was, and then it's kind of like dreamy nostalgic version of like how he wants to see his world versus the reality of like, wait, no, everyone is undead, and it just captured that balance so well. So like it's all Jake. I don't know how he does it, but each cover is just like incredible. I love cover 2, well, all of them. Cover 2 with Luke laying in the flowers is so beautiful. 3 with Daisy eating her like, oh, is she eating spaghetti? No, that's blood all over her face. And then and then 4 with the priest, which I think I was doing groceries and we were trying to be like, what do we do for the cover 4? And then I was doing groceries, and for some reason, like I knew we had this priest character who I kept trying to find ways to get into the book more, and he kind of really only shows up the most in issue 4. So I was like, zombie priest. I just like sent him like capital letters like zombie priest, and then I swear like the next day he sent back like the sketch of like the zombie priest at the pulpit, and I was like, this is perfect. So yeah.
Yeah, you are beautiful. So I would guess, Jacob, I mean, how would you describe having to balance beauty with brutalness of this? Like, is it easy for you? I mean, obviously it's not easy for you, but like, did you get it? Did it click, or was it something that you had to work at?
Well, I think with my Texas Blood covers as well, I don't really do like action-packed covers. So like quiet moments are kind of like what I like to do. Anyway, like, who knows if it sells comics, but that's what I like to draw. So it's like doing that, and then trying to find that balance. I think I like all the covers, but I think some of them got that balance better than others, maybe. But yeah, I think like the sort of double take, but they all came from from Tate's original idea of the zombie cowl for the promo thing, and then sort of built from that. But then we did the B covers, which were like the chance to do like more sort of traditional like zombie action packed stuff, a bit more violent and to the point. And that was fun because we got to then explore the sort of cast of the hunters rather than the sort of family side of things. So it was good. Yeah, it was really great being able to do both of those things. But yeah, it was. I really enjoyed doing the A covers. I think like those sort of quiet moments, and I think it sums up the book so well. I think it would have been right to just do like this. What we did for the B covers for the A covers, I don't think would have been. It wouldn't have fit with the book, and I think people would have maybe been disappointed when they, or not disappointed, but maybe like thrown off by and sort of gone into it expecting something that it wasn't. So I think we did well to sort of get that balance of things. Hopefully, anyway.
It kind of reminds me, honestly, like of a couple of different creators who've done like the explicit variant, like the second one, like Scotty Lung's I Hate Fairyland, and then the Fuck Fairyland variants. It's the same idea. Like you get this beautiful, nice cover that people can have on the front that has this grotesqueness to it. But then you have the second cover where you're like, okay, you want to see someone get shot in the head. That's what we had the second cover for that one.
I think I remember if it's the 4th or the 5th issue, and we've got like the sort of choir boy about to be shot in the head. I remember doing that one. Like, is this too much?
Too much?
No, it's exactly what we needed.
Well, it's to give people the also like option. Like if you are a comic book store who doesn't want to carry that as their cover that's displayed on the shelf, then you have the other options for things. But there is this. But also the comic, it's just like The Walking Dead. When I try to explain it to people, The Walking Dead, they're like, "Oh, I don't like zombies." Like, well, it's more than just a zombie comic book. There's so much going on. Like this is like zombie comic book, but it's about grief. It's about survival. It's about how people evolve over time and things like that. So there's more to it. Was that important to this, Tate, to get that across and not just be like, I'm going to tell a zombie story?
Yeah, no, that's basically like the crux of it. I I knew this was a story about grief and about not being able to let go of your loved ones or a life the way it was, or a life you fought so hard for and then it was ripped away from you. So I knew that was the core of the book. And every time I questioned, like, is this zombie action enough? I kind of was like, no, that's not the point of this story. This is a story about a man who can't let go of his dad, and that's kind of the metaphor for what we're doing here with the zombie subgenre. So like I know like zombies, that's what I love about horror and monsters in general, where it's like you even like a classic monster like a zombie, the metaphor can be malleable, like to suit what your character needs, what your story needs. So when I landed on what the zombies were and meant and represented in this story, that was like the full intention of this book, was just like I want to talk about grief through zombies and through horror, and what it can drive a man to do, how desperate it can make him, and it all unwinds throughout into issue 5, where it's just a mess. And I loved kind of the gray morality of where the story exists, because grief kind of, if we're not careful, does make monsters of us. So it's just like, yeah, these zombie hunters can be seen as monstrous, but also they're just humans trying to survive. And also Jack can also be seen as monstrous because of like how he's living and what he's doing to himself, and what he then goes on to do to like these human survivors who are actually alive and need to survive. And then it was funny seeing a lot of fan reactions and readers being like, why can't they just leave Jack alone? Like, he was happy, he was fine, he was comfortable. And me just being like, no, like that's it's not okay to live and continue to exist in like that cycle. He was not happy. He was just going through the motions because he couldn't let go of them. Like, he needed to let them go. Because everything that happens throughout that book, yeah, the human survivors instigate it, but Jack is the one instigating it right back. Like, he will not. He's the one pushing it to like this point of no return. So like all of it, I just love how messy it is, because like for me, that's like how like grief is not this clean, perfect, linear path. It is one of the most difficult things like for the human condition. Like, and that's the reason why people keep telling stories about it and how to get through it and how to kind of get out the other side of it. So like this was me and Jake and the whole team kind of adding our own perspective to that path.
It's the zombie hunters and Jack, they both don't see the other person's point of view. It's like think they're both wrong on this thing, and it just creates even more things. And that's why a lot of times they're like, oh, I know what you're going through. The truth of the matter is a lot of us don't know what the other person's going through, so it's hard to have this discussion. But it was funny because you drop us into this world, and it seems like it goes from 0 to 60 fast, but obviously this didn't happen overnight either. So Jack's been living in this house for a little while now with these people. I've lived with some smelly roommates, by the way, and I don't really understand how that's got to stink in that house.
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now, the undead is probably pretty stinky.
Yeah, it's like any bad smell. Like, I'm sure he got used to it and then convinced himself, he was like, this is just life now, it's fine. So
no, but like it's you don't, like I said, I felt for him. At the same time, I understood the people trying to help. It's just one of those things, and like they just don't know. And again, that added so much more to it, and that's why I love horror. Like you mentioned, Tate, like horror, I feel like has this ability to be so many more different things than other genres, in my opinion. Like, there's like a romance genre could only really be so much in that sense. A horror can be a romance, but I feel like romance horror just becomes a horror. It's like a weird way that it works. Like a square is a rectangle, but rectangle's not a square kind of thing, and how it fits in that category. And I feel like there's a beauty in this while it's also terrifying and horrifying all at the same time. And you guys mentioned, I think Jacob, you were one mentioned the length of it. The 5 issues is like a perfect length. I think there's some stories nowadays where I'm like, oh my God, I want more. But then there's other ones where I'm like, that's it. That's good. If there does come more, awesome. I'm going to be there the first in line on Wednesday picking that up. But it doesn't need that. Like you completed that story. It felt tied up. It felt open. It felt the boat. It felt like the words of those. I don't know. At the end of it, I was like so happy because I read issue 1 on New Comic Book Day, and I read it. It was phenomenal. But then obviously I was buying it and putting it put it on the stack of books that I need to read that's this high. And then Margot at Image sent me a link saying you should read X, Y, and Z trades that are coming out here pretty soon, and that was on one of them. I was like, oh, this is a reason now to read the whole thing, and I got to read it in a trade format. And so I love single issue comics. They're one of my favorite things that are out there. I can buy what cover I want to buy or multiple covers or whatever. As you guys can see, I collect a lot of them behind me. But there's something, and this story is told well in single issues, but also told well in some sort of collected edition like it's coming out here pretty soon. So are you looking forward to this coming out in one long stretch so people can just dive in right into it and get the whole thing all in one sitting? I'm guessing you are. I'm guessing that's the answer. But what do you guys think about this coming out in trade?
Yeah, I think the story lends itself so well to it, and that's how I read most of my comics as well. I mostly read in trade, so like it's great for me. I can stick it on my shelf with the rest of my books, but yeah, and even when it comes to like something like film versus TV and stuff, like, I'm much more of a film guy than I am a TV guy because I like having that sort of. I read it and it's done. And, like we're saying with novels, I don't really read like ongoing series. I just read like individual, like single novels, and I like that. So this kind of story for me is like perfect. I love that and it works so well in that. And I think hopefully, like sit down and read it and you get everything that you need out of it without having to go like, okay, now I need to go get the rest. It's like it's done and it does the job by itself. So. I'm hoping, and also it's exciting because it's a whole different audience of people as well. Like there's the book audience, like the like traditional bookshop audience, which I think will hopefully it'll do well in that market because I think again it's that the story that it tells will lend itself well to that kind of market as well. So hopefully it opens it up to a whole new audience of readers that never would have found it otherwise. Which is always exciting.
I also love that this issue 5 was the end of January, as in local comic book shops, and this is coming out in local comic book shops in April, and then in bookshops in May, which is fantastic because there's sometimes I feel like there's like you read the last issue of the series and then like a year later you're getting the trades. Like the short distance between like I think I honestly read the trade like the middle of January, which is like the 5th issue hadn't even come out yet to stands yet, and I'm reading it in trade format. But there's that aspect of like you get to feed off of the back end of that marketing too, that you still had people on their shelves. There's a possibility someone goes and grabs this at a trade at a comic shop and issue 5 is in the back issues where people can grab the actual issue 2, which is pretty cool. Likely they're not going to be able to find issue 1 in single issues right now, but hopefully they do. I'm lucky enough to have it, and again, maybe I will just hang it up as a comic in my room out there. See, there's a guy Tyler Turnbull. I don't know if you've heard of this guy on Instagram. He takes and goes to thrift shops and buys like old paintings and then paints like pop culture references into paintings, and I have one that's Rugrats in my bathroom, legitimately like my half bathroom that everybody uses when they come over, and it does take people like leave the bathroom and they're like, wait a second, they go back in there and there's like a large Chucky just like from Rugrats like walking around, and it throws people off. So I kind of want that. I kind of want that idea. Someone goes, "That's a beautiful. Wait, is that a dead cow?" Wait a second, no. But so this comes out April 8th at local comic book shops. Everything Dead and Dying in trade format, as well as May, the beginning of May at bookstores everywhere, which is pretty cool. With Image too, is they give the little advanced sales basically to your local comic book shop so you can get it, but also it's available in bookstores, which also like you mentioned, Jacob, is like so cool to see. Like I'm good friends with the owner of a bookstore and a comic book shop, and both of them have like different takes on different things, and it's always fun to hear like he doesn't give a crap about single issues. The bookstore owner wants the trade, and so it's cool to see that comic book shops get the advanced. I'd say advanced, the first taste of a trade release nowadays over at Image, which is pretty cool. But you guys are both still busy doing other things too. And I wanted to just quickly touch. You're back in the Slaughterverse, Tate, come up here pretty soon. Are you excited for the Fall of the House of Slaughter?
Yeah, it feels like going home if the home was full of mass murderers, and it's wonderful. It's a great feeling. It's really cool. It's going to be like the first event series, basically, like in the Slaughterverse, where it's all leading up to issue 50, which is a huge milestone. So it's going to be coming out at the same time as 46, 47, 48, 49, and it'll lead right into 50. Yeah, so Fall of the House of Slaughter, where it's me writing Conclave fanfic, but instead of a bunch of cardinals, it's monster hunters vying to be the next dragon of this organization. So yeah, it's really fun. It's monsters, political thrillers, and yeah, I'm having a great time. It's probably my favorite thing I've written in the Slaughterverse, so I'm very happy.
Oh, that's awesome. That's coming May 6th, the first issue that's hitting your local comic book shops. You also have obviously like the Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos going on there. You got new Titans. You're busy as a whole, but I wanted to touch on the Fall of the House of Slaughter because that's people are clamoring for more stuff from that Slaughterverse. I'll tell you that much. James and all those people, they get me every time. I bought the 10th printing of whatever that, the glow in the dark cover or whatever the hell it was. I was like, it got me. It's like we talked about The Walking Dead. I'm like, Robert Kirkman's got me. I'm buying the deluxe edition now. I have 99% of the first run, and I'm still buying the deluxe edition for some. I got this colored version of it's a lot more into it, but I'm just saying, like, he's hooked me. He's gonna do the deluxe edition next, and he's got me again. It's one of those things. But it's so it's fun to see more coming out of this, something that I don't know if a lot of us saw when the Something's Killing the Children first came out, saw all of this branching out of it, which is really kind of cool to see happen nowadays over there at Boom. But The Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery over at Vertigo. Jacob, back with Chris Condon again. You guys, again, you live in his basement, according to Tate. So you're required by law, or by force, I guess, to work with Chris again. No, Chris is a great, phenomenal writer. So what's it been like to reach writing over at Vertigo? To me, it's really cool. I would be very, very, very honored to be at Vertigo. Is that something that's pretty cool for you too?
Oh yeah, it's so cool, and it's been great because I'm so used to work. So my cat's just arrived on my
no complaints here.
Yeah, because I'm so used to working with Image, so there was I was a bit tentative because I was like, am I going to be giving up all this like creative control? But it's been the perfect sort of balance of having full creative control of everything we're doing, and also the sort of backing of this huge machine behind us. So yeah, it's been great, and like Matt Levine is our editor on it, and he's been absolutely amazing. Like he's just made it a better book than it would have been without. So that's all you can really ask for from an editor. So so that's been really great. And it's obviously exciting to have the Vertigo logo on the book. I've just had the second issue, my comps delivered for that. It looks great. So like, and I'm really I'm proud of the story that we're telling, and also it couldn't have worked better where Everything Dead and Dying finished in January, and then this came out in February, and then in June we've just announced that we're doing That Next Blood. It's sort of we're running straight into that, and then hopefully we'll be back after that with more Ezra Kane stuff. So it's the idea is that we'll be doing these sort of 6-issue arcs, and then having a break, and then coming back with a new adventure, and each one's a self-contained adventure, which is how we like to work on Texas Blood anyway. It's like each arc is a sort of self-contained story in a bigger world with the same characters. So hopefully we're going to be sort of bouncing back and forth between that for a while. It's great, and it's fun to sort of stretch these different muscles doing this sort of like period piece New York and doing this sort of noir tinge stuff, and also the sort of as we go through the series it becomes much more of a sort of like bigger adventure story, which is something that I've never really done before. So it's it's got sort of fantastical elements in it, and science fiction stuff. So I really enjoyed it. Like I finished working. Well, I'm still coloring it. I finished drawing it months ago. So it's like I'm excited for it to keep coming out and for people to read the rest of it.
Yeah, I talked to Kyle Starks earlier. He's like so pumped about all the different books coming out at Vertigo. He's like, I don't know why I'm part of this, but I'm cool with everybody else. Like he's I read them all. He's like, these are fantastic. He's like, and then talking about my LCS owner, he also was on the edge of not ordering your book because of how long the title was. He's like, I'm putting it on the pull list. It's so hard to put it on. I was just kidding him. He's like, it's kind of funny again. And he looks at the title and he's like, that's super long. And then he looks at the creators. He's like, okay, cool. We're going to create that. We're going to keep that in there and make sure we get that with you and Chris on that. Chris,
even the title though is still is that sort of pulpy kind of vibe to it as well. So it's like the next arc, Chris has written a sort of pitch treatment thing for the next arc, and it's got an equally long and ridiculous title, so more of that to come.
So I want to ask, why isn't it called The Fall of the House of Slaughter, something's killing the children story?
That's James and talk about that right now.
I need to have it be this long. No, and then my day job is I'm a creative director for a brewery, and when we create beer title names for the beer labels, we're always very conscientious nowadays of we used to call it whatever the heck we wanted to, because whenever we designed the label, it was flat on a screen, but then when you rolled it around a can, you realize that you don't see the whole thing. So and also writing it on menus and all that stuff. So we started 2-word, 3-word beer names now because of the fact that we're okay, it's better for the design, better for the beer, promoting it and marketing of it. But sometimes, Jacob, they just need to be long because they need it designed to be that way. Or again, technically, it's the Ezra Kane story is the second part of that. It's not actually the full. It's the full title, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so you two are both busy. Everything Dead and Diet is phenomenal. I think everybody should go out and get that trade, put it on your shelf. I have all 5 single issues. I'm still going to go out and get the trade. My brother asked me that. My brother visited my house for the first time since I moved in here, and he's like, why do you have so many trades if you have so many comics? So I go, because I'm crazy, and I wanted to support the creators who are making them. No, because I like the idea that I could pick up the trade and read it, and I don't like as much reading my single issues. I don't want to mess with them, especially when one of your comics is worth $20. I might as well keep it in the bag and board, right? But no, I'm so happy that you two took the time out of your busy schedules to chat with us here on the podcast. Everything Dead and Dying, April 8th at your local comic book shop, and May 5th, I believe, or 6th. I think it's May 5th. May 5th at your local bookstore or bookstores everywhere. You can get it on bookshop.org, which is a place that I like to send people because that supports local bookstores, and they'll ship it right to your house and so on and so forth. And then check out like I said, The Fall of the House of Slaughter is coming up here pretty soon, and as well as the Ezra Kane mysteries coming over at Vertigo from Chris and Jacob as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys taking the time out.
Yeah, well, thank you. This was great. Thanks for having me back. And thanks for continuing to just support creators so much and create spaces like this. And it's so, we're always just so grateful for it. Yeah,
I appreciate it very much. Yeah, keep up the great work, and keep up the great work, Jacob. We're always thank you for joining us for the first time. We'll get you back at some point in the future, but I'm glad we were able to work this out and get this going. So thanks to you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you. Bye.